I'm going to share with you how I write a 60-minute speech in 30 minutes or less. Now, a pre-claimer, that does not mean that in 30 minutes you will be able to deliver a 60-minute speech perfectly and to the point. But what I've noticed is a lot of speakers, and myself included at the beginning, spent a lot of time researching, tweaking, refining the speech rather than practicing. And by me sharing how you can create in super speed a 60-minute speech, that gives you more time to do what's the most important, which is delivery. You can actually practice delivering it. You'll never be word for word perfect. It's important not to be as well, because it gives you time to actually read the audience, notice what they are finding interesting and you to build that up a little bit. Or if you notice that that's a part of the speech that people seem to be switching off, you are given the freedom to play around with it. And so here I'll be sharing how to write that speech in the framework so you can just practice on delivery. So when you're speaking in front of that audience, you can just be you, be with them, and deliver an on-point speech that they want to hear. So let's get started. And I'm going to be using a whiteboard. And so what I do at the very, very beginning is I write the title at the top and also what I want the audience or the people who are listening to feel at the end. And in the middle, I've just put 5 minutes. So 5, 6, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So I've put 12 number 5s, which represent 60 minutes. So I'm doing a talk on Sunday. I've already written it, but this is an example called Conscious Nutrition. And it's all about how you can eat to save the planet. So what you can do consciously with the food choices that you make that will also be helping the world. And the call to action for my speech is, I'm not selling any products. I want people to leave feeling motivated. I want people to feel connected to me. I want people left feeling intrigued, and also that they know they've got an ally, which is myself. So as I said, I want them to be motivated to actually look in their current actions. I want them to feel connection with myself. And I'm going to say empowered. I love that word, okay? Empowered. I'm running out of space. E-R-E-D. I want people to feel empowered in what they can do next. So at the end of this, I want people to go out and go, right, ready to start today. What can I do, okay? So let's get to work. And it's all about what to deliver. So for 60 minutes, the first 10 minutes is about setting the scene. That's describing what it's like today. For me, it's about describing the problem, what is happening in the world, why this is an important topic, why are you delivering it as well. If you've got some credentials in the area, mention those. But it's predominantly setting the scene about why what you're talking about is important, predominantly to the audience, and why it's you doing it. So this focuses on, the problem, as I said. So for me, in Conscious Nutrition, it's all about describing that the world, there's more and more proof that humans are actually creating mass extinction. They're also creating almost wipeout of our own population and race, and we're destroying the environment that we live in. So I'm going to be using some specific environmental examples around that is distinctly highlighting why this topic needs to be discussed today. Okay? You might not at this time, but later start citing any great references, some great books you might have read, websites, other thought leaders, back up what you're saying with scientific fact. So as I said, it's why important to the listeners. And why now? The next 5 or 10 minutes is about talking about the solution. Like we've just painted the doom and gloom of what's going to happen and oh my goodness, there's something has to change. We'll start talking about what is changing currently. Another scenario. So here it's great to mention businesses, companies, organisations that are leading the change, that back up that what you're talking about is relevant today and people are already starting to do it. So you want to use examples of, winning, thought leaders, any research papers, and again, if you can't read my writing, I'm always available at the back of an email, so I'm happy to decipher my sprawlings, my scribblings. So now you've described the problem, you've also said, but all is not lost. People are talking about it, people such as the World Health Organization, people such as this, etc., etc. And then you go on to 5 to 10 minutes of you. Why is this important to you? What is your backstory? Bring it relevance into this. Why did you get inspired to talk about this? Who are you in the world? Did you create something in your life that actually solved this problem, or are you part of the reason that this is now being discussed? Whatever it is, be genuine, be authentic, and really open up your personal life within reason and to the audience so they feel connected to you. So it comes back down to them wanting to connect to you, so why is it important to you and why you? A bit of your history and relevance, of you being in this conversation. So if you're talking about motivation or resilience, then do you have any actual qualifications in that, or did you come across something in your life where you had to learn a certain skill set? Set the scene about why you are in this conversation and talking about your chosen title. Now again, at this point, that's why I always write at the top and the bottom what I'm talking about, and also what I want people to have left doing or being or buying or having or whatever. So I always know that whatever I'm saying, it has to get connected back to one of these two at some point. And now we introduce the other you in the area. So for the next 10 minutes, you're talking about the audience, them. What's in it for them? Now, especially when presenting, some people do have this sort of assumption that you're there to sell, or you're there to, say there's top 10 tips and here's 8 you've got to do or give me something, even if it's an email, to get the other 2. So here it's a place for you to be transparent about what's in it for them. So it's about sharing why they need to be important, why they need to be in this conversation with you. So it's connecting the title with yourself and with them. So this is about bringing it to them and bringing it to their lives. You might, if you feel comfortable, ask certain questions to the people in the audience. If you are going to do that, make sure the questions are phrased in a way where you know the topics. Don't just... An example of a question I would avoid would be, how are you feeling? Because it's opened up a spectrum of conversation where they might go completely in a different way about work, or about, health, or about their relationships, or when they were 5, and you're going, oh gosh, I didn't mean that. I meant with regards to nutrition, or with regards to environment, or with regards to resilience. What are you currently proud of? Now that opens up a completely different topic than how you're feeling, because you're leading them in an open way of, we want to talk about your successes in resilience, or we want to talk about what you're proud of in the environment. So if you are going to ask questions and engage people, make sure you know where the conversation will go roughly, so you're not left like completely confused about why we're suddenly talking about the neighbour's cat when you were talking about resilience in workplace. So here it's about what's in it for them, why they want to be connected to you, and why they want to be engaged in this conversation. What's in it for them? Why engaged with you? And topic. Great. And for the last 20 minutes, it's about adding value. You know, they've given you the most valuable asset, which is their time. They've given you 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes to talk about a topic that you're passionate about. Now's the time to give them value. So again, coming down to what you want them to have or do or feel or be at the end of it, now's the time to make sure that they get what you've said you deliver on. So for me, I wanted them to leave with a feeling of being motivated and empowered to actually go out and do something, that they're the ones that can cause change through conscious nutrition and save the world. And also connected with me, the community, the message, and themselves. So in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to be giving them tools, tips, techniques, connections about how they can move forward from today. So it's also a way of clearing what's happened to date, to stop the judging, the beat up. You know, in this topic, for me, it's a very emotive subject. So, you know, opening up, it could open up easily a question of comparison and who's been doing better or worse or right, who's righter or wronger. I really want to sort of even the level playing field and say, right, starting from today, what are you going to do? Or what do you want to do? Or what would you love to see? Or how are you going to contribute? What's your passions? What can you get inspired in? So for conscious nutrition, if it's about population, which communities, networks or actions can you take to really connect with the people in that conversation? Or if it's the plants, you know, the environment, what can you do or who can you speak to that will actually enable the environment to flourish? And if it's the animals, same sort of conversation. So it's acknowledging there's different levels and different connections that can be done within the same topic, but it's to give them what they need for you to actually achieve what you promised at the bottom. So here it's add value. And this is really important, and it's to fulfill on your outcome. It might be a top 10 tips, so it might be a downloadable PDF, it might be discount on your upcoming book, it might be a lot of things, but it's making sure that you deliver a solution and you get what you promised, they get what you promised for them at the end. And the last 10 minutes, I leave fluid. So there, I keep adding value, and I also open it up to any questions or answers, and also give them the way to connect with me. So that's where you build your call to action in. So for me, it's about connections. It's about making sure people are actually collaborating, connecting, they're walking out with something that they're going to contribute to, be it a community or with myself or themselves. And so if you've got a product to sell, now's the time to actually get them into action and delivering on what you want them to achieve from having spent their time with you. So here it's the call to action. Woo. And that And that is done always very transparently. There's a lot of, I've been to 1 or 2 seminars where they add value at the very end, and it's a complete surprise to me that they were selling something. Now, I'm not anti that. I think it's amazing. Like, you know, people add so much value for nothing, for free. And at the end, they just say, well, if you want a bit more, then my time costs this. Marvellous. What sometimes doesn't work is if you do have something you're selling, it was a surprise for the first 50 minutes. So make sure you are transparent and clear at the beginning what people can expect. So even at the setting the scene, it's easy to say, right, we're going to be talking about what's happening today, why we need to talk about this. Then we're going to talk about what we could possibly create that would solve it. And then I'll be talking about me, and then about you, and at the end, it would be amazing for us all to, you know, put our money where our mouth is and do something about it. And I'll be describing that a little bit later at the end. So you can work out whatever fits better for you and the size of your audience. But make sure that if and when you get to the call to action, it's transparent and no one's left in a surprise space. You want people to be leaving, feeling whatever you've committed for at the very, very bottom. So this is always backed up with details. I use bullet points. So even when I'm describing myself, I list every single bullet point to make sure that I'm only talking about relevant points that will add value to people in this conversation. So for conscious nutrition, people might not need to know that I worked as a dive master, or people might not need to know that I have a degree in engineering. The environmental engineering degree, yes. Mechanical, maybe not so. But it's not about hiding, it's just about making sure you add exactly what is relevant so people only get the content that they will actually benefit from. So I always have bullet points, and the more scene setting at the beginning, you use external websites, white papers. Google Scholar is a great resource. Any books you've read, always reference back those people, because you know, it's their content, it's their intellectual property. So, you know, as a courtesy, make sure you do acknowledge the people whose intellectual property or resources you've used. But add more and back it up so people know it's not just an opinion of one. There's actual scientific facts out here. This is a huge conversation that's really, really important. And you're explaining why it's important, why it's important to them and yourself, and also how and what they can do about it. So this is what I do, this is what I used, and on Sunday I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and this is exactly what I've created for my speech about conscious nutrition. I'm talking at VegFest, so I will most definitely share after the talk how that went, and I'll be always refining this, and any changes I will put downstairs, down in the comments, so you can learn from my experiences too. So have a great time, enjoy, and let me know how your first talk goes as well.